And we are live. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about the shooting of Republic senators in, where was it? In America, Washington somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. This topic was brought up by Rin. Unfortunately, it wasn't done by Rin, don't get me wrong. It's because someone got shot. And I thought it was a really good topic because in the Netherlands we had the same problem a little more than a decade ago where politicians got shot because, well, I'm going to give the floor to Rin. Rin, go ahead.
All right. I do have an article on this. I would go to screen share, and I do have an article, and I want to know if you guys could see the article. Is the article showing?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, it is. W in the D, and let's see. The Illinois man who allegedly wounded Representative Republican Steve Scalise and several others at a baseball practice early Wednesday in Alexandria, Virginia, apparently was a fan of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which nearly 5 years ago was linked to a domestic terror attack at the Washington office of the Family Research Council. James T. Hodgkinson, who reportedly shot at Republican congressmen and staffers who were at the practice for an annual charity, and it's a charity baseball game. So that's really sus that they were doing this for charity, but they're still getting shot for trying to do something good. But the practice for an annual charity baseball game for members of Congress was an avid supporter of Senator Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign, according to his Facebook page. Many of Hodgkinson's profile pictures featured Sanders, as did his cover photo for Facebook. Removed his page Wednesday, shortly after he was identified as the suspect. Hodgkinson, like many anti-Republican far-left Facebook pages, including Dump Trump, Liar Liar Republican Campaign on Fire, Republicans Are the Problem, Bernie Kratz united to resist Trump, and fire the Republican government. When really, I see things like this from The Guardian. I see things like this from Slate to Solana Bits. I mean, it's really bad. Like how much everybody hates Trump so much, and his supporters. Just it says how much people hate. Even Trump supporters. Overtly anti-Republican groups were not the only things he liked on Facebook. He liked TV shows favored by left-wing, such as Last Week Tonight with John Oliver on HBO, The Rachel Maddow Show on MSNBC, and The Daily Show with Trevor Noah on Comedy Central. And these people feverishly hates Trump. Like they hate Trump a lot. They make so many videos about Trump. It's a total bitch fest.
Come on. Rachel Maddow, she loved Trump. Didn't you not see the excitement on her face when he won?
Yeah, she didn't really like the guy, but that's okay because she at least was honest about her opinion, and I mean, she didn't like the guy. So there is that.
Yeah, but these people, hate Trump so much. Didn't she got like his tax records or whatnot and wanted to talk about his taxes? And didn't she illegally get her hands on his taxes? Anyway, the shows regularly paints Republicans to be incompetent at best and outright fascists and Nazis at worst. Damn right. Oh, damn right. That is so true. Like, wow, Anyway, he also was a member of groups such as The Road to Hell is Paved with Republicans and Community Justice Center, a California-based group of community organizers who opposed Republicans. He posted statements such as, "It's time to destroy Trump and company," and that Scalise should lose his job. Here's a Republican that should lose his job, but they gave him a raise. And, oh well, I can't. Oh well, whatever.
Anyway,
He
let's.
might.
I mean, we can read the rest of it later, but let's start talking about it a little bit, because
Okay.
basically we have a politician being shot at. Well, not a politician, a senator even. Well,
Yeah, politician.
They're politicians, yeah. They're being shot at. Do we see anything we can say, okay, this is linked? I mean, the fact that the dude was in the campaign for Bernie Sanders for president, yeah, I mean, yeah, he has a political affiliation. But does this come back to Bernie? Personally, I'm going to say no.
No.
Nope, absolutely not.
No, absolutely not.
Well, no, you know what? It should come back to Bernie the same way as if I watch a response video of yours and I go after the original video, it should come after you.
Yeah, still doesn't need to come after
a fair analogy, but it's a British analogy. If you guys remember that politician, something Cox, was killed by a Brexiter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is exactly the same. No, they have nothing, even though the media made it so relentlessly it was due to that, but they are not doing the same. This is a sort of a double standard, but neither case were linked to anyone. These were two deranged people.
Yeah. Well,
That's
yeah,
all.
that I agree. That's the point I was going for as well. I mean, these
Sorry
people.
about that if I went ahead of myself.
No, but these people are deranged.
Yes.
So
Okay. Yeah.
we can't.
I would like to I would like to compare it to something, and I like to compare it to an article I read by Reason.com. It says Bernie Sanders links political rhetoric to violence when right-wing, not when perpetrated by his own volunteer. You know, and it was talking about how when it comes to Donald Trump, you know, Bernie Sanders blamed violence, you know, on Donald Trump. It says, well, it's because Donald Trump has such violence rhetoric. But Sanders did not choose in his moment to stand up and denounce the increasingly violent rhetoric coming from the left wing of American politics. And again, this is a quote from Reason.com. Because again, if you listen to Bernie Sanders' speeches, he does make a comparison to violence and Trump's rhetoric. So if I'm going to make a comparison, I'll compare it to that.
Well,
If I were to make a comparison, I would look at what happened in the Netherlands about 10, 12 years ago. It could be a little bit more. I'm terrible with dates. But Pim Fortuyn was a politician who started his own political party and rose to power really, really fast. Out of nowhere, he nearly became the next minister-president of the Netherlands. The only reason he didn't become that was because just before the election, he got killed. What we saw, and this is something that the media in the Netherlands has been lambasted over, was a continuous demonization of stances and the political agenda of this man. Whether it was based on reality or not didn't matter. He just got demonized. Basically, what we're seeing happening in America with Trump now as well. It doesn't matter what he does. He's automatically a bad guy. The Republicans are automatically the bad guy. It doesn't matter what they do. And this atmosphere creates a world wherein idiots think they're doing the world a favor by killing Hitler.
But they're not.
They're not.
Yes, there is a very strong us versus them mentality on the left, and I don't see this so much on the right. You know, I'm not saying it doesn't exist on the right. I'm pretty sure it does, but I see more of this polarized, strong us versus them mentality from the left. And I like to give an example. When you watch live streams by Tim Pool actually covers, you know, these rallies, and there would be Republicans who would want to have a conversation and have a reasonable dialogue, but then there would be Antifa who would want to throw bricks at people and throw, you know, bring knives, you know, there. And, you know, kind of like there's this recent video by Tim Pool where the police arrested a guy who was like a part of Antifa who rushed to the Republican side. And I think that they found weapons on the guy. And not only that, but it's kind of a lot like when Tim Pool says, hey, would you like to go to the other side to talk and have a conversation and maybe find some common ground? Many of those people would say, we don't want to talk. We refuse to talk. We refuse to listen. We don't want anything to do with you. We just want to protest against you.
Yeah, but that's basically the left throughout history. And this is something a lot of people don't understand. But in the Western world, we don't really have a right wing. We call people right wing, but we don't really have a right wing.
Well, is in the Western world, isn't right wing just a synonym for evil?
Some of them use it that way, yes. But
like what we were discussing earlier off stream about the right wing terrorist.
well, you know what? Bring it up. Because the other people, of course, didn't hear our discussion earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, sure, bring it up.
Well, I'd like to know, what is the right-wing terrorist group? Because, like, I brought up Westboro Baptist Church because I thought they're the ones that did a lot of the Planned Parenthood bombings, 80s, 90s, and so on. But you guys say that I'm mistaken on that.
Yeah, that was not the West.
Nope.
Boro Baptist.
All they had in common with the people that did those bombings, all they had in common with the Westboro Baptist Church were that they were some denomination of
stupidity,
fundamentalist Christians. That's it. No real affiliation to any political group, for example. They were Christians, really radicalized Christians. No, not radicalized, I'm not saying. Radicalizing is a stupid term. They were fundamentalist Christians. They followed the teachings of their books to the T. They were fundamentally following their books. That's where people get those terms wrong. If you're radicalized, you're not. It's just another word for saying they are fundamental. They follow the fundamentals, what's in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. The Christians, in the Islamic, it's what's in the Quran and the Hadiths and the surahs.
The surah.
In Judaism, it's in the Torah. Buddhism, what's in the scriptures that they have, which I don't have a clue about. I only know the Abrahamic religions a little bit about, mostly. Enough to not be hoodwinked. But yeah, that's all they had in common. We were saying that the Westboro Baptist Church were up to about 16 members, and most of them were one family.
Yeah.
Of lawyers.
The worst thing that they do is stand on street corners and say, "Ha ha, you're dead, ha ha."
Yeah, and God hates fags and kill all fags and all that shit. That's what they did. Hello? Continue.
Yeah, sorry.
The thing is, if we look throughout history, especially the last 2 centuries, there hasn't really been right-wing terrorism, or at least not organized on a great scale. There have, however, continuously been left-wing terrorisms. Everyone seems to continuously forget that fascism was a response to Bolshevikism, which we would now call communism. Because in Italy, you had communists, Bolsheviks, protesting and attacking people on the street. Basically, what Antifa is doing in America now. And the normal people, whatever normal means, but the other people, they eventually stood up against this and said, no, you should go away. You're not attacking my city anymore. You're not blocking my roads anymore. And they started physically fighting back. This is the birth of fascism. We saw the same happening in Berkeley when Antifa has been crapping on people for quite a while now. And at Berkeley, I think it's the second or third Berkeley event, the people said enough is enough, and they started fighting back. Basically, that's how fascism was born in Italy. And even fascism was a reactionary movement against communism, still isn't right-wing. Yet we are being told continuously, yeah, but it's a right-wing rhetoric because it's nationalistic. Yeah, but nationalistic doesn't automatically mean right-wing.
We were discussed about how the new movements that are going against Antifa aren't really. They would be what I consider more centrist than any extremes, because they have elements of minorities that no extreme group in the civil rights era would have.
Yeah, I like to address Modwain. You're right, Modwain. It just seems like when you add nationalists, people go, well, that's right wing. Anything nationalist is very right wing, and I don't know. It's treated as a form of extremism to the left. That's what it seems like. That's what feel like I'm getting when I talk to people on the left. Well, though talking to anybody on the left is really quite a difficult thing to do because they're not the type of people who really want to talk, which is unfortunate. Like, I remember, when I was, voting for Bernie Sanders, I voted for him in the primaries. I may have been to the left, but I was willing to talk. I was willing to have a conversation. Even back in the time when I supported Black Lives Matter, this was when Black Lives Matter was very new, and this was before they did all of the stuff that they're doing now. Even when I was, when I was part of Black Lives Matter, when it was new, the early days, the first 3 months, the first 5 months, I had no problem with the All Lives Matter people. I thought that people who were All Lives Matter were cool. I was willing to talk to them. I was willing to listen to them. I was willing to have a conversation. I was willing to talk to conservatives. But it's kind of like the problem is people on the left, don't want to talk, and it forces me away from the left because I just became repelled by the left. I just became repelled by not wanting to talk to the other side, not wanting to have a conversation, not wanting to have a dialogue.
I just thought of this. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but hearing you talk, this comes to mind. And let's see if this hypothesis I'm bringing forth makes sense to you people. When I'm not in the majority, I preach or advocate for openness. I want people to give all ideas a fair platform. Once I reach a certain number, I stop advocating for the freedom of speech for everyone, but I demand everyone to follow my freedom of speech. Is this a pattern that we can recognize within the regressive left in America?
Yes, it is a pattern. It is a pattern because, I think it was in let's say the 1950s, the 1960s, well, whatever, there used to be a time where the left was like pro free speech. Like, we care about free speech, we love free speech. But that was when they were,
when was that?
wait. That was when they were the minority, and when they were the minority and when they were being silenced. But now that they're the majority, they don't care about free speech anymore. But for me, I've always cared about free speech, you know. That is something that I've always cared about, you know. And I voted left all my life. Like, I, you know, voted for Obama twice. I liked Bill Clinton when I was a child. I really liked Bill Clinton. But it's kind of a lot like, you know, seeing the left, the way they treat other people. You know, for me, I would rather be around the other people that they're censoring. You know? But that's me, though.
I'm going to respond to that a little bit. When was the left ever for free speech?
When they were the majority, the minority.
No, they weren't. They weren't there for free speech. They were there for their speech and only theirs.
Yes, but if they wanted to have their speech,
days, they weren't arguing for free speech. They were arguing for their liberal speech.
No, they were arguing for all speech, and that automatically included their speech.
Yes, like,
They
no, look. I agree with Modwain here. You can see signs, you can see photographs of people of UC Berkeley holding a free speech sign, and it would say like free speech, and they would do marches for free speech.
Yeah.
And this was at UC Berkeley.
Well,
and the pictures,
here's where I'm actually getting at is I've talked a lot with NC Clark about the whole like UC Berkeley when they're after the free speech and everything. And she's done her research and presented her research really well on it. They weren't after free speech because even at that time, it was Senator Reagan. Before he was president, they refused to listen to him speak because he was the evil devil. That was their words. They had almost the same kind of speech as the SJW community has now.
man, by the way, you have a very beautiful daughter, by the way.
Thank you.
He has two. He has two princesses.
Okay. I'm going to, because what I just gave you was half of my hypothesis. They demand or they advocate for free speech until they reach a certain number, and then they start denying others to speak. Can we see
Sorry.
not a correlation. Can we see something that is behaving roughly the same thing?
I can see a similar behavior, but where I'd like to differ in opinion is it has nothing to do with the numbers. They advocate free speech as long as it's what they want to hear. If you're trying to speak something they don't want to hear, even if they're the minority, they will not sit there and listen to you.
Yeah, but free speech does not mean the right to be heard.
No,
so
it means the right to speak.
Right, that they don't listen to me, I don't care. But at a certain point in time, they're not only saying you're not allowed to speak, they're going, I will not listen to you, you're not allowed to speak, I will actually stop you from speaking. Speaking means that you're breaking the rules. We see this, for example, in the Islamic community as well. When they are small groups, they advocate for freedom for everyone. But once they reach a certain number, they start to curtail the freedoms of others.
Modwain, can I ask you, how is Islam left-wing?
That's the worst part of it. Islam isn't.
I just don't see Islam as left-wing, or am I missing
Well, it's
something
quite
there?
right.
Islam is quite right, actually.
Yeah, I would think that.
I'm not saying they're left, but they are using the same tactics. When they're in the minority, they want everyone to spread their ideas openly and freely, especially if that means that they are allowed to spread their ideas. But once they reach a certain number, they're starting to curtail the rights for other people to spread their ideas.
Yeah, this is why, given that Islam is what I would call right wing, I don't see why I still can't really fully grasp
Step
why
away
the
from
left.
left and right.
I still can't fully grasp why the progressives, the social justice warriors, defend them so much. It really seems like it's because they're brown or because they're Arabs, but
Step away from left and right thinking, because this, I know we started in politics, and in politics is often defined in left and right. Stop thinking in left and right. Look at the one thing that they both have in common.
Yes.
And what is that one thing that they both have in common?
Power.
They are both authoritarian. They want total control of everyone and everything. It's not about left or right.
I was actually just thinking about that. You know, I believe that the left wing is actually a lot more authoritarian than the right.
Yes, always has been. There hasn't been a moment in time that that's not the case.
Modwain, I would like to ask you, when it comes to like Islam and social justice, which one do you think would dominate the other, or which one do you think would win out?
Islam.
Islam, without a doubt. Yes.
Because Islam is quite simple. If you're not me, you're dead.
Yeah.
SJWs don't think in hatred. They don't think in killing people. Oh, well, they think in hatred, but they don't think in killing people. Islam, they actually make a show of executing people in the town square, stoning people, throwing people off buildings when there is a crowd.
So you think that, like, as when it comes to Europe, as the British have like open borders, or the Germans have open borders, and they invite more and more Muslims into their country, you would think eventually Islam would win over social justice?
Social justice is already losing. Look at Sweden. I mean, they're still holding on to social justice, but look at what was done to the country. It's the rape capital of the world. They have the highest number of crime in Europe, even though they're a very, well, relatively small country. And people are not allowed to criticize it. This is one of the reasons why I usually don't show my face. In Europe, you can actually go to jail for saying something that might be seen as critique on a certain political motivations of people. There have been people put to jail in for example, UK, Germany, because they spoke out against the way the politics are handling the migrant situation.
By the way, can I ask, and you too, Carlos, in Portugal or in the Netherlands, would either of you get it in any trouble for talking about, let's say, feminism? Like, you know, I'm again comparing Islam to feminism. Which do you feel more safer speaking against, Islam or feminism? Like, has anybody gone to jail for saying feminism is stupid, for example?
Can I go first, Modwain?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Easily. I can criticize openly Islam, feminism, my prime minister, my president, because there's been a precedent set. And as long as I don't incite direct violence, I can say whatever I want. I have no fear. Even my posts on social media, the Portuguese laws are still protecting me until the European Union forces us to change. I am safe. I can say whatever the hell I want, as long as I don't say let's go out and kill group X and Y. But I just say, look, that group is really bad because it's doing this and that. I can say that without fear of persecution or any repercussion, in fact. And I also speak English, so I do my stuff in English. So the Portuguese don't really give a damn about anyone talking in English. All they want is basically they're trying to import outside Marxist tendencies, but we are so poor, they don't last long. The people don't care much about it because of football, the soccer. That is what people here care about. There's no racism in Portugal, real racism, I mean, because Club A will call African supporters of Club B really bad names, and then Club B will do the same to Club A. But they have members of all colours in each of their respective supporters, which is and in their teams. In fact, Portugal, most of our great footballers were African born. When Portugal had the last European empire, and do you guys realise how Portugal had an empire, yet no one talks about our empire, which is fucking awesome, by the way.
That's because it failed.
What?
No. It was a very successful empire.
Exactly. Our dictator Salazar, Antonio de Oliveira Salazar, fought a longer war, colonial war, than the United States fought in Vietnam, and we were sanctioned by the United States and all that shit. So.
Yeah, well, you were pretty left wing at the time.
No, we were cooperative. No, we were cooperative right wing.
Yeah,
it wasn't full Nazism. It was you could say a traditional conservative, cooperativist, religious or theocratic dictatorship. It's basically you could say it was a classical right wing, but slightly more extreme. Not very extreme, because shit. Salazar considered all the people in the empire Portuguese.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, but it wasn't nothing racial. That was the thing that was missing in the whole of our dictatorship. It was right-wing dictatorship, and I probably am I was born under it. My father escaped from it, so I know what it is to be really, really repressed, real censorship, and that. And now Portuguese politics are very centrist. Our most extreme right and left wing parties, the Greens, are quote unquote left, and the Christian Democrats are on the right. They would be bloody centrist in every other country. Well, when they're in the opposition, whenever a party or parties are in opposition to the government, they talk like left-wing socialists. So it's weird, our politics. I don't understand it. I honestly don't understand it. But I'm grateful for it, because we don't want extremes. We want centrist parties, even the extremes, left and right. We want them to not curtail our fundamental rights. We still enjoy a very good freedom of expression and freedom of movement and association and everything. Excuse me. There will not be any shutting down of unsavory speakers in Portugal. Wilders could come here and people will go and watch him, and that's it. For example.
How about
unfortunately,
you, Modwain?
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, we are pretty much, how do you call it, encased in left-wing rhetoric. You're allowed to say everything as long as you don't disagree with the main narrative. So, is it possible for someone in the Netherlands to get fired for criticizing feminism? I want to say no, but I can't, because I can't be sure of it. Especially because a lot of the rhetoric that goes on in politics now are still pretty much pro-women. And don't get me wrong, true issues need to be addressed. But if you have a minister of education saying that our schooling in the Netherlands is not performing as well as it should be, because there are 3 groups who are basically, how do you call it, pushed back because of the way schooling is set. And those 3 groups are, in this following order: children with a learning disability, children of foreign parents, and boys. I would think boys would be the first one to mention. But our government feels that boys, even though they are half of all the students in this country, are still not as important a group as people with a learning disability. So at one point I'd like to think, yeah, it's okay in this country to criticize certain ideas. At the other point, we have had people being killed over it. And the left-wing rhetoric that is being pushed by a lot of the media, especially in other countries, in America, for example, but also in this country, is part of the problem. And don't get me wrong, I still consider myself mostly left-leaning. There are, however, certain aspects of the left that I don't know.
Well,
So you cannot criticize women or Islam in the Netherlands?
You can, but there are certain risks coming with that.
What if a Muslim criticized women because she was reading the Quran? Would he get punished, like push women out?
Well, it's an old joke, but I'm going to tell it anyway. There's a man and a woman meeting each other, and the man talks about how he likes raping women. And the woman says, okay, you're a sexist. And then the man says, how dare you call me a sexist? I'm a Muslim.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
So that's it.
yeah, that is absolutely it.
Even the victimhood status Olympiads are happening in the Netherlands as well.
We don't have that here in Portugal. You know why?
Yeah,
We are
no,
just
that's the good thing about Portugal.
we are just too poor. Honestly, we are so poor that someone sent me a link of an article or a picture of an article that some Syrian refugees would rather starve than be sent to Portugal. That tells you a lot about our country.
This was in Sarga's channel, the Dinkery, but it seems like, migrants, they don't like Poland either. Like, they can't wait to get out of Poland and into Germany. And it was so much fun listening to, like, the Polish MEP, and he was so like, you don't want to be here, you don't like it, we don't have a welfare system, they can't wait to go to Germany. What are we supposed to do? Keep them trapped here? They don't like it. They don't like it here. There's no welfare. They are expected to work here. So there's a lot of fun to watch, because he doesn't hold back. He says exactly what he's thinking. And what I also find amazing is that, like, when he splits into the base of people, I can't believe that, feminists, they have, like, nothing to say. Like, he was arguing with a feminist, and she just got tongue-tied, and she just really did not know what to say to this guy. So that was a lot of fun to watch.
well, if you're talking about like speech and stuff still, I'll be honest, I'm getting kind of afraid of my free speech here in Canada, because typically we follow a lot of the English law. English laws kind of set precedent for Canadian laws still, even though we're not part of the Commonwealth anymore.
It's true for America too. American system is basically based on English law as well.
Yeah, no, but like the Americans make their own laws as much.
So do Canadians.
Exactly.
We do, but most of our laws are actually based off of
I'm
Still.
sorry for that. I understand what you mean, but it's still true for America.
Yeah.
You countries are based on England, on the UK. So your law system is also based on England. Now, it seems that Canada is more based on England than America is, but in all fairness, they're both pretty much based on English.
Yeah, no, what I'm talking about is our new laws follow their new laws a lot closer than anybody else's.
I wonder, though, because I don't see Bill C-16 happening in UK.
Well, Fuddernuttah, does Canada follow the Westminster system of government?
With the parliament.
Exactly, how they voted in and all that shit.
Yeah, we essentially have three levels of government in Canada. 4 if you include the Senate. And that is, we have our parliament, which our federal parliament, legislature, and our municipal town.
Yeah, but that's
halls.
because Canada is like Australia, a federation, more or less.
Right.
But I mean, you have England has House of Commons, House of Lords, and the Queen. Right.
No, we have House of Commons.
Yeah, you have the House of Commons equivalent. You have the House of the Senate, no
Lords. Yeah,
which is equivalent to the Lords, and you have the Queen's representative, which is the Governor General. So yes, you do follow the Westminster system more or less, more or less.
Yeah,
because Australia does it. Yeah, Australia does it. India does it. Surprisingly, India follows not as strictly, but it follows to a certain degree, the Westminster system. All countries of the Commonwealth have that. America didn't, because America became independent before the other countries did, and it became independent in a military sense, not in a peaceful handing over of power. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So the system that you guys have, and all the other the Commonwealth, you still do go to the Commonwealth Games. So you are still in the Commonwealth of the nations of former British colony, and Mozambique joined the Commonwealth not long ago, which is which is a former Portuguese colony. So now it's basically just for the sport and meeting up in one of the countries, having a piss up between the governments and that. Unless they decide to boycott one that's acting bad, like Zimbabwe, for example. They've expelled Zimbabwe because it's a racist country. Surprisingly, a black nation's racist.
Well, in all fairness, if you want to find racism, you should stop looking at the white world. You should start looking at the colored world. I mean, there is more racism in any other nation than a Western nation. But somehow
Absolutely.
we're not allowed to say that.
But it is completely, yes.
I mean, hell, the whole thing with the Hutus and the Tutsis, they're both black and they still killed each other over race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Great example, but you don't see any social justice warriors talk about that.
Nope. Not a
they'll say, oh, it's Western imperialism that caused them.
Anyway, we are sidetracking again.
Let's get back. Yes, let's get back.
I'm sorry, I'm good at sidetracking myself, but let's get back to the issue at hand. Politicians getting murdered, and what do we think? Well, in this case, he didn't get murdered, thank God. But what do we think is the root cause of this?
Well, what I think is the root cause of it is there is so much hatred towards not just Donald Trump, but Republicans in general, all over the media. You can see it in Slate, Salon, HBO's like last week with John Oliver. You can just see it all over the media is hatred towards, Republicans and whatnot. It's kind of, and I think that it drives people to thinking, oh, maybe we really are racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobe, transphobes, you know, and people feel the need to stop us, you know.
Well, I think it's kind of a mixture between lack of education that the left is getting now. Like even my kids, they're saying the way that we've been taught, like in my generation, is you're taught, oh, you can change the world. He says, and here's how you go about doing it. It's just you can change the world, and then you amplify that with the negative of the mainstream media put to like the Republican Party. What do you expect is going to happen? People are going to change, and people don't. They're going to sit there. Oh, we're going to change the world. We're going to change the world, and not realize that.
I'll put your poop back. I'll put your white back. Oh, really?
Carlos, what's happening, mate?
What?
What? Sorry about that. I was distracted.
There's a lot of noise coming from your end.
I will mute myself.
It didn't sound friendly either.
No, but like it's like I do want to change a lot of the way that the Canadians go about it, but I'm not about to go sit there and burn down a fucking parliament to do it. What I'd rather do, and the way that I could see doing it, is getting involved in politics myself and change within. Because honestly,
way of trying to get
protesting or killing people isn't going to change fuck all. You're going to make the news, get your 15 minutes of fame. It's going to be some fucking whack job that shot at a congressman.
Yeah. Well,
In this case, I think it was a whack job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that there is a problem with how it gets treated in the media, like CNN. Like I did think that there's this case of 4 black teenagers kidnapping a white mentally handicapped mentally handicapped guy wearing a Trump hat, and you could see this black woman inviting to talk to CNN, saying, "Yeah, he deserves it because he lied. He deserves to die. He deserves it." And you know, it becomes a discussion on whether or not white people deserve to live. And I can't believe whether or not white people deserve.
Carlos, you're making a lot of noise again, mate.
I'm not doing anything this time.
You're typing.
Oh god damn it, sorry. It's my new settings seems to be more sensitive. I'll mute myself again. I apologize again. Sorry.
No worries, mate. Sorry, go ahead, Rin.
You didn't hear me?
Well, halfway we couldn't hear you because of Carlos typing.
Okay. Well, what I was saying is, you know, like there was this on CNN. There's this black woman. Okay, this was the time when that white guy who was mentally handicapped, he was kidnapped by 4 black teenagers, and then there's this black woman who was invited to talk on CNN, and she was like, this deserves to happen because he's white. And we're reaching a time where people are having legitimate discussions. We're having real legitimate discussions on whether white people deserve to live or whether white people deserve to die. And this, you see this on CNN, like I can't believe that we're living in a time where we're discussing seriously, unironically, whether white people should live or die.
Yeah, it's difficult though, and the hard part is
you can't just say it's a whack job when people are taking it like, yeah, maybe this should happen, where the media is kind of egging it on and the media is kind of promoting it, where people are saying like, yeah, maybe it should happen, as opposed to, oh no, where the media is normally, like, if this was like 10 years ago, the media would probably dismiss this person as crazy. But now it's kind of like, yeah, you know, people who are perfectly sane going like, hey, yeah, maybe, you know, white people should die.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, it's okay for the media to criticize or even make fun of certain politicians. But if at the same time you push a rhetoric that it's okay to hit the Nazi, or it's okay to punch people because they're racist, then you're opening the door to this. I don't mind people making fun of politicians. Hell, I do it myself at times. But there is a strong line. You may think someone is an idiot. You may not think it's okay for you to kill that idiot.
Yeah, like, for example, did you see this video by Huffington Post where the person on Huffington Post made a serious video saying, like, hey, it's probably okay for you to punch a Nazi. Like, if you only punch somebody, I wouldn't care about it. And, you know, like, why not kill them, you know? And it's
Yeah.
kind of like, and I'm pretty sure that the video is still up. I mean, it's gotten a lot of downvotes. It did. You know, to be fair, it did receive a lot of downvotes, but it was a lot like Huffington Post saying, hey, if you punch a Nazi, I don't really care, you know?
Yeah, I'm thinking I even made a reply video to that. I'm not even sure I did. But I remember it was with and not even a black girl, but a dark, well, not a dark brown, a brown girl. Not really that dark. I think
So what happens when the media is saying, oh yeah, like, is it really wrong? Like, you know, where it's kind of a lot like, I can't believe, and you can really find this if you Google it. If you Google it, like, is it really wrong to, you know, punch the Nazi? It's like, well, I can't believe we are even having this discussion on whether or not it's okay to hit somebody or not. And you can see, like, Steve Shaw being like, yeah, you punched, you know, what's that guy's name again? Like, what's his name?
Richard Spencer.
Yeah, where Steve Shaw was in the Google Hangout saying, like, yeah, you punched me. So it's just Spencer. I'm glad you punched that guy. Where people are beginning, like, oh yeah, this is okay. You can see him with other people who are like, yeah, like, this is no problem.
Yeah, and there is a real danger in that, because once you start saying that certain forms of physical violence are acceptable, then who's to say other forms of physical violence are not acceptable? And that's the door you open.
We could even go back to the Nazi thing. Like, if you really look at it, the left is more resembling Nazism than the right. Yeah, the right is saying, hey, no Muslims. And that's actually about as far as the similarity goes. Like, people think Nazis were just racist. That's all they ever frickin' did. But the thing is Nazis did a lot more, and Nazism was actually more of a political movement than anything. Yeah, no one's going to say, oh, great, let's do what they did to the Jews. But when you go to the left political side, a lot more closely represented to Nazis. And that's something that I've noticed, which no one else really talks about, is you go to how it was done, how the political setup is for Nazism, is if you get rid of the burning of the Jews and the nasty shit that they did, it fits into what the left wants.
Well, I wouldn't even say if you take away the burning of the Jews, to be honest. No, don't get me wrong. I'm against burning of Jews. Don't get me wrong. I'm against killing people. But the killing of a group within your communistic land is quite normal. What do you think the pogroms were? dissenting voices were killed in communistic countries. And Jews, in a way, were dissenting voices. Don't forget that Jews in Europe always had like a negative connotation because a lot of the big bankers and the big media, even back then, were Jewish. Not most Jews, don't get me wrong, because there's the problem with hashtag not all is that people fail to recognize where the difference lies. But a lot of the problems, financial problems that Germany had was because of Jewish bankers. And instead of just saying the Jewish bankers, they said the Jews, which was a message to the public, look, we're doing something. Funny enough, the Jewish bankers, they left alone because they had a lot of money. Hence, how you have people like Soros and the Rothschilds who got a lot of help from the Nazis, funny enough, even though the main reason why they turned against the Jews were those people. So there is a lot of double think in that. But you see the same with left-wing ideologies as well. As I said, look at communism and the pogroms and the not just pogroms, what's the other one? Well, basically they're work camps, they're death camps. It's the same as a concentration camp. And we see this not only, we saw this in communistic Russia, but we didn't only see it there. We see it in Cuba as well. We see it in China, we saw it. We see it in North Korea. We see it in nearly every communistic country out there. So when you say, well, they do the same thing, but they didn't kill the Jews, I'm kind of saying, well, actually they are doing the same things, including killing the Jews. But nobody talks about it. A stupid example. Everyone talks about how Hitler was a terrible person, which I totally agree with. Don't get me wrong. I'm not willing to defend the guy because I think he's an arse. And he's dead, so he doesn't need defending anyway. But how many people out there know how many deaths were caused by communism? But we never talk about that in the Western world. Oh, we complain about it, but if we're going to put Stalin next to Hitler, everyone's going to say Hitler is the worst one.
No, if I was given a choice to live under Hitler or live under Stalin, I would be living under Hitler.
Yeah,
I do.
People, aside from you, I think many people would rather live under Stalin because Hitler and Nazis gets a lot more attention. For example, you're a grammar Nazi, or you're just like Hitler, or people trying Hitler mustaches. Some people where Stalin isn't getting enough attention.
Under Hitler, you'd basically not be welcomed if you were a few minorities, Jewish, Gypsies, Slavs, and mentally disabled, basically.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Carlos, you're wrong on this.
No?
There were a lot
No?
of political dissenters in the concentration camps as well.
Oh, yeah, obviously, but I'm talking about racial minorities.
They estimated that around 6 million Jews died in the concentration camp, whilst at the same time estimating that between 10 and 12,000 people died in the 10 and 12 million people died in the concentration camps. Jews were roughly half of it.
Half of them, yes. But yes. No, I'm not debating that. I'm saying that racially wise, of course, even Portuguese dictatorship killed thousands of political opponents. They were sent to Cape Verde Island.
Yeah.
Prison at Tarrafal. That was our Devil's Island, the French Devil's Island, only worse.
Mm-hmm.
Only 1% came out of that alive. So about 1% to 5%. I can't remember the exact figures, but it was horrendous. But yeah, absolutely. No. It doesn't make what I said bad, more bad or less bad. Really bad. Political dissension and racial minorities. Obviously, Oh, horrendous. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're totally right. And I'm going to respond to the chat for a second. Warped Reflection says nobody ever mentions every other group that was targeted. All they bang on about is the Jews. And you know what? Warped, you're right. And I don't blame the Jews for this, don't get me wrong. But within the Jewish community, we have people that started the diversity is our strength bullshit. The Marxist ideology comes from Judaism. The identity politics comes from Judaism. And not all Jews, not nearly all Jews, not even, I would easily say that 3/4 of all Jews are against this bullshit. But the ones that we hear talking are the Jews with a lot of public place. And they are a problem.
I just want to say this because I'm going to read Crazy Cat's thing in the chat. Islam killed more Jews than Hitler ever did. The only thing Hitler did was use German efficiency to achieve it in a lot shorter time.
But the thing is, he didn't only kill Jews, people. That's the thing. We only talk about how Hitler killed Jews. As I said, about 12 million people died in the concentration camp. Roughly half of that were Jews.
Yeah, you know,
That means that the other half wasn't.
yeah, that is really curious when you think about it, because when I was a public schooler. I went to a public school. I graduated from a public school, and year after year, we talk about how Hitler killed the Jews, and it became Hitler versus the Jews. And even when I watched films of Hitler, it's about Hitler killing the Jews and how the Jews were treated. But we don't know about all the other people. Like, I think it was, I don't know if it is your channel or Crouch and T. I think it was Crouch and T. Was the very first time I ever knew that Hitler killed other people aside from the Jews. Like, I thought that Hitler killed strictly the Jews, and that was it. But it was Constantine. It was the very first time that I learned that Hitler killed other people, you know?
Well,
so it's like, how come the other people don't get any attention at all whatsoever? They just kind of like disappear from the discourse.
Because all we're taught in school is that Hitler killed the Jews. The school doesn't actually teach you too much about that whole era. It wasn't until I started doing my own research that I find out a lot, and it kind of piqued my interest onto it as well. I forget who did the documentary, but I watched one where what they did is about a 2.5-hour documentary. Is the synopsis of what was happening in the political environment, and then along with German propaganda translated into the English terms. And you know what? After watching that, if I was in that time frame during that time, and all I was presented was that German propaganda, you know what? I would have been in the German military fighting for the Germans, because that's what I was exposed to. And that's the thing that school doesn't teach, is they don't teach that there was another side to it. All they say is all Germans in World War II that fought were evil, and they all hated Jewish people. But the vast majority of the Jewish or German population in World War II didn't even know about concentration camps. They didn't know that's what was going on. Like, granted, a lot of it was because they turned a blind eye, but they're only presented with...
People turn a blind eye. We cannot understand that something could happen 2 cities away and you did not know about it. In this day and age, in our current society, that's impossible. But 50 years ago, 60 years ago, news didn't travel that fast. And if they didn't want you to know it, A lot of people didn't know because they didn't know. Now, some didn't know because they didn't want to know, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people just didn't know.
Yes, the Germans, they feel really, really bad and really, really terrible about what's happening. What happened in Nazi Germany? Like, listening to Carlton T talk. I mean, it is quite unfortunate that how badly they feel about Nazi Germany is making them accept all of these migrants, and these migrants like rape all these girls in Cologne. And it's kind of like, what, you rape me, but it's fine. I still want open borders. It would be, I think there wasn't a woman who was like saying it would be great if Germany was no longer white. I think somebody actually said it would be great if nobody in Germany was white. I think so.
No, what they said is it's a good thing that in a few years the German, the German population wouldn't be a majority white population anymore, and that's a good thing. Who said it? Oh, for fuck's sake, I have it somewhere.
There was a green politician.
Yeah, it was a green politician.
So you can't really say that that's the
Oh, hello, Real.
Hi guys.
It's not the mainstream political idea,
Yeah, it's not.
but it does seem to be the political ideology that Merkel is pushing as well.
The thing that I do understand, after having emigrated 18 or 19 years ago, is that I don't think that Germany went very tolerant and very open in the 90s, already after the 70s, like even mid 80s, and I just have a feeling that they're kind of standing there, almost stood still at the same place they were at 20 years ago, as if nothing had changed. They still think that they can solve everything with tolerance and openness, and I think they are sorely mistaken.
There's then I think a lot of it too is
you're breaking up, mate. You're breaking up.
Is that any better?
Yeah, it's better.
It is kind of guilt by association.
Yeah.
That they all feel, well, not all, but that a lot of them feel as well. Because
I don't know. Are you from Germany, or do you have special insights into? I don't know. I've been away for like 18 years, so I only know that a friend of mine came over, and he has definitely a slightly more left-leaning kind of. Is it liberal? I don't know. A view, of that whatever certain right-wing views are evil, and you're easily being lumped in with what they call in Germany the brown sauce. Braune Soße, which is basically anything that's too far right is already kind of Nazi. But I don't know whether that's a guilt thing, It's more like, oh, we're so tolerant, we're so open, and anybody who isn't, it's so easy to make jokes about Trump, It's just everywhere. It's just, and if it's like, if you say you're conservative, it's almost like you're free to be ridiculed, I don't know where that comes from. It's just like you're basically regressive because you're whatever, Trump's such an idiot.
Yeah, no, I'm not from Germany. I have very, very little ties to Germany.
But what we did see, and not just Germany, we see it basically in nearly all the white European countries, Western European countries. Funny enough, not in the white Eastern European countries. The feeling that we have to make up for what happened during the Second World War. People,
I don't know. I think that's so far removed now from the consciousness. Even, I mean, there is this thing. Yeah, the Nazis were bad, but that was like over 50 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, we were told that in school.
It's not
75 or 85. You say subconscious,
still,
right?
It is subconscious. It's being poured into us.
Yeah.
We are being taught all the negative things that happen.
I don't know. I think it's more, I think you see it too negative. I think it's more this feeling that you can achieve everything by just being positive and unrestrictive, by just removing all restrictions from people. If you remove all restrictions from people and tell them you do what the fuck you like, no religion, no nothing, no coercion, then everything will be fine and hunky-dory. But there are, what they don't know is that they do not know about a culture that's basically has a militaristic kind of kernel. Like Muslim faith is kind of it's a military kind of thing. That I think that's, who said that? I just heard that very recently. Oh yeah, that was Black Pigeon Speaks. He was talking to a Japanese guy and he said like, no, that was actually an Indian guy, right? Whatever. They had a long history of like interacting with Muslims, and what he observed was that the Muslim culture is basically a militaristic culture. Everybody has to stand in in formation, and then they have to bow down. They have to be there at certain times. It's like appel in the military. So it's a very structured militaristic way of thinking, and like Europe is so far removed from that. It's they can't believe that people think are even like caught within these structures in their brains. They just think, oh yeah, you give them freedom and then they'll come around. No,
that's the thing though. I mean, the Dalai Lama, and if I remember my titles correctly, the Dalai Lama is the head of Buddhism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this. But the Dalai Lama said you have to be open, etc., etc., etc. Except for Muslims. You cannot expect to sleep with dogs and not get fleas.
Mm-hmm. See the Hindus, right, in India, who had contact with the Muslims, and they know that it's a struggle. They know that they can talk to the Muslims. They can talk to like the moderate Muslims, but they also know they have to be guarded because they have this. But I think we don't have a conscience, like in Western Europe, we do not have a consciousness of that. We haven't really lost yet to the point where we say, hey, it's enough now, we have to push back.
But that's the thing though. I mean, India basically was ruled by Muslims when the Mughal Empire was there, and the Sikh started as a, how do you call it, defensive, aggressive measure against Islam. That's why a Sikh, in their religion, they are religion bound to always carry their knife with them. And it's not a small pocket knife, it's actually a dagger. And by law in Great Britain, the Sikhs are all allowed to always carry their knife with them.
That's the same in Canada.
Yeah, because they're Sikh, it's part of their religion. Now, Sikh on average are very, very small groups when it comes to criminality, because on average, these are very good people. But they are allowed to always carry their weapon. And that does say something. And they have in their religion that they always need to carry their weapon. Why? Because of Islam. Even when they live in a country that has hardly any Muslims, they still, by religion's default, have to be ready to defend themselves and their community.
Amazing.
The thing is, not all Muslim, hashtag not all, hashtag too many, but hashtag not all. The thing is that if we look through history, the worst ideology that the Western world has produced is communism, with roughly 100,000 deaths to its name. Now, not all of those 100,000 died in the West, but the second worst.
Communism has a lot more than 100,000 deaths.
Roughly 100,000 is directly caused by their action.
Stalin?
So, yeah.
Direction meaning starvation is a direct cause of by communism, so it would be close to 200 million. China
was
USSR,
about 50 million too. USSR was about 50
Yeah.
million, and China was about 50
100. Pol Pot about 4 million.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, it was.
Those are
So-
smaller numbers, but yeah, true. Well, I don't think it's close to 200, but it is more than 100 million. That is true. I had the numbers somewhere. Maybe I can find them again. But if we look at the history of Islam, considering the expansion drift that it has always had, and the immense kill count that came with the religion, it's scary that people actually still defend the religion of peace ideology. And don't get me wrong, the Western world doesn't need to really fear Islam more than anything else. They do need to fear it though, because Islam kills everyone, even Muslims.
Yeah, and yet you will still see people who are apologists going, like, how could, these terrorists be Muslims when Muslims is their primary victim? You would still see, trust me, you would still see apologists on Twitter if you would ever bring this up.
That's one of the things I never understood. I mean, if someone is saying that he's right-wing and he shoots someone, all right-wings are bad. If someone is a Muslim and he says he's a Muslim while killing other people, yeah, but he's not a Muslim.
Yeah.
They'll say that his victims are Muslim. They're like, oh, come now, his victims are Muslim. So how could he be a Muslim? His victims are Muslim. That's what I hear from the apologetics.
Well, you know what? The thing about the apologetics in North America is it is my generation. Like, I'll be honest here, my generation is killing the West. And that's because we grew up with that religion of peace narrative and all that shit. But that's what we're teaching. That's what we learn. And you do... Oh, fuck, I can't even speak right now for whatever reason.
Modwain, yeah, it's about 100. It's about 100 million. I've been looking at a lot of sources, and it's around 100 million. Yes.
Yeah. I'm usually pretty good at my numbers.
No. I just
Thank you for
got my.
checking it for me.
I was wrong. Sorry, and I apologize.
Thanks for
How did we
checking.
get? How did we get from? Wasn't the topic the Republicans who? I'm sure you've moved on, but it's interesting that when the main topic was that Republicans were shot by Democrat or some mad guys, I don't know whether they were like Democrats or whatever, that we end up with Muslims again. I don't think that that's the main problem for America right now.
We got
there's something else.
sidetracked. We got sidetracked because we started with that. Then we went to free speech, left versus right. And then Muslims are more right than left. And
But
no one
it's
thinks that.
it's kind
And
of
then we got
it's kind of
onto this.
It's interesting, but it's you always one always looks outside and says, oh, there's another group that's even worse, But I think that these people that shot, was it just this lone gunman, or what was it?
Yeah.
It was some guy, and I think he asked, are these Democrats or Republicans? And then when the answer was Republicans, he tried to kill as many or shoot as many as possible.
The
And
thing
it
is,
has nothing to do with like Muslim or even Muslim apologia. It's something that's within
We can go back to
a
the
certain mindset.
no, you're right. It has nothing to do with Muslim or Muslim apology. Well, it has something to do with Muslim apologia. The thing is that the left is creating a certain media atmosphere, and that certain media atmosphere is basically breeding hatred towards everyone who does not think like them. We had the same in the Netherlands about 12 years ago with Pim Fortuyn. This person that got shot at also had 2 FBI agents for protection with him because there were threats based on him. We have how do you call it? We have a media outlet that's telling us that it's okay to attack certain ideologies but it's not okay to criticize others. And when I say attack, it's not attack by words, but it's attack by action. It's okay to punch a Nazi even if he isn't a Nazi.
Yeah. And I don't think it's so much about the action of the, I think that isn't really much about actions, about the violence as such. It's more about it's an enemy trope, as Anita would say. It's a trope, it's a Feindbild. It's the picture of an enemy. So it's kind of like an image. It's like a ghost or something. It's not, they cannot really define it. It's more like, that's the enemy. Right, a certain kind of attributes, let's say, but we can't actually really define what the enemy is. We know it when we see it. That's really interesting, that whole thought and I think that comes from. I think what happened is that with not just with the culture war, but with the whole class, fight, that comes from the Frankfurt School and the feminism and the progressive stack, that people are really, really starting to get really confused, like with the the new LGBT flag, with the new 2 stripes. Yeah. Now suddenly it's not just about gender and sex. Now it's also about skin color. So it gets fractured and fractured more, but people are really confused. So they don't really know who the enemy is. So they just create this enemy thing, this really malleable kind of ill-defined thing, And I think they're quite happy that there's this thing like Democrats and Republicans, because it's so simple. It's either that or that, and not like 100 different like oppression kind of stacks. It's just okay. You're either red or blue. It's very clear, It's very it's almost traditional, that thinking.
The thing is, I understand what you're saying, and
I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm just kind of riffing on it,
The thing is that the left is fragmentizing itself, which it always does, and it's going so far that people are doing everything they can to bend backwards to still fit within the victim narrative. So by including the black and brown stripe to the LGBTQ flag, they've demonized so many of their own supporters that the flag used to stand for LGBTQ. And they recognize that you have LGBTQ in every part of society, within every country.
And I think that's the extreme end, though. Not everyone, not the whole population, not the whole USA, or not even half of them, or not all the Democrats, just buy into the victim narrative. That's just the activists, that this really strong thing, or we feel like victims, so we kind of persuade ourselves into a psychosis, and then we can act and pretend that we react, although we actually act.
That is true. You're making a very powerful point there, and you're absolutely right. The problem is that the media follows the minority and not the majority.
Well, that is actually the problem. Why should the media follow either?
Well, the media should just push out what happens, not make up their storyline.
Did you see the last?
The media follows the minority instead of the majority. It's because it wants to have a positive impact on history. Because I believe during World War II, you can see there were old newspapers that says blast the Japs off the map. And I think, the media's thinking, well, we want to be on the right side of history. I would hear a lot about that on TED Talk, and not only TED Talk, but I even heard of that from Barack Obama. Let's be on the right side of history. So they want to be on the side of Martin Luther King type people, even though they're just going by victim hierarchy stack. But let's remember that during the past, the police put the hoses on Black people. So the media is kind of well, maybe we should be on the minority side, always. Therefore, when people look back at us, they will look back at us as the good guys. When really, I find the media to be terribly divisive. And I mean, even to the people that they claim to want to protect, this kind of like, gay Trump supporters being excluded from the gay pride parade, or Black people getting lost if they voted for Donald Trump. It is becoming increasingly scary for the people that they claim to want to protect.
A question: Why is this really strong urge to being on the not on the right side, I suppose, on the righteous side, like the morally good side? Why do you think is that especially Americans have to kind of signal it?
Not just Americans. We see the same West, to be honest.
Well, I think that's especially Americans. I mean, especially if you look, or especially not just especially Americans, but especially like highly educated, rich Americans, the ones that go to colleges. They especially.
Yeah, it's again not just Americans. We see this.
What I think that the motivation is, though, of these people is that there's two. I think there is a guilt complex, and it's not the guilt. It's not a guilt of I have done something bad. It's not even I don't buy for a minute that there's a real guilt. Like, oh, I feel really guilty because maybe some of my ancestors may have owned slaves. I don't even know that. I don't buy that for a second. I think the real reason that there is a guilt, the feeling of guilt, is because people know how good they have it. They have it way, way better than like 100 years or 150 years ago. And they probably have a feeling that they don't really deserve it. Like Jordan Peterson said, give guys a goal, and they're hungry for it. They're completely hungry for it. There's this activism, I have to do something good, so I have to basically kill the evil, externalize it. I can't kill it in myself, and I kill it in somebody else. It's really interesting.
There is a small rhyme that I heard that also explains it pretty well. It's funny enough, it's in German, so you can tell me whether I pronounced it right. Weil der Mensch ein Mensch ist, hat Stiefel ins Gesicht nicht gern. Will unter sich kein Sklave sein und über sich kein Herrn. So basically that says, because a man is man, he doesn't like
boot in the face.
Boot.
The boot in the face.
Yeah. You don't want to be oppressed. So he doesn't want to see slaves under him, and he doesn't want to have a master above him. And I really think that is the thinking that's creating the self-loathing and self-hatred. Because, we don't want to see slaves, but there have been people slaves, and somehow white people were responsible for that, because everyone keeps telling me white people were responsible for that. Therefore, I feel responsible for that, but I don't like it.
I don't think that you make. I don't think that that last part. That's so artificial to me. It's like, oh, it's because white people and I'm white, and then I feel responsible. I don't think that that's the way that it works. I think it works more like I'm rich. I have flowing water. I can drink water. I can just turn off the tap. I can have a shower, whatever. So people have a consciousness that they are actually the 0.1%. Even if you just rent a flat somewhere, you're still way better off than some guy in the desert who has to walk like 30 miles.
All Western Europeans and all Americans worldwide are the 1%.
Yeah, less even. It's crazy. And I think that's in people's subconsciousness, because with mass media, you especially around Christmas, you get these appeals, for like give to the poor, and now it's even let's share our country. That there's an even bigger, there's a multi-million-dollar advertisement industry that lives off this guilt. So. But I don't know what the solution is, though. What's the solution?
The solution is that people need
better education.
Better education. People need to recognize reality. I'm sorry.
You educate people, but educate is also just a luxury, right?
Well, no, it's not just a luxury. Anybody that says that education is just a luxury is full of themselves.
The reason I'm saying that I educate you, right? I give you a mathematics. I give you some STEM field subject, or I give you, I give you some sort of a thing, a degree, and you've done nothing. You've just come out of it and you've done exactly nothing. Okay, maybe you can land a job that gives you money, but you haven't really done anything for the world, so you still have the guilt. You understand? The education won't change that feeling of guilt from you.
No, what I mean about change the education is change how, like right now, you look at how the education is poised. The education itself starts this whole white people are evil narrative.
I'm sorry, Carlos, I'm going to quiet you down a bit again, mate. If I figure out
What?
You're making a lot of noise again.
Oh, I didn't know my microphone was that sensitive, man. Jeez.
The super loud.
Yeah, no, what I was saying when I was saying educate is the fact that if you go and you look at how the school systems are in the Western world, the history lessons, I don't believe, are the real history. Like NC in the side chat there, she's done a set of videos which I absolutely love, and that's about the UC Berkeley thing, because most people remember the original hippies at Berkeley. They didn't do nothing wrong. They were just peace-loving, dope-smoking people, and their voices changed the world.
Yeah.
And then you actually look at it, and you look even further than anything that's in her videos, and you go to the actual facts of what were happening, and it's the same SJW bullshit. But all those schools will teach you is that they were peace-loving people. You go to the Nazis. You know what? All the school systems will teach you is Nazis were bad. They fried Jews in ovens. If you go to the Canadian system, they say, oh, well, the white people were bad because we went and we scalped fucking Indians and we mistreated them. And that's all you learn. You don't learn about the other side of that exact history.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to.
Points about. I think you have a points about like we are not learning real history. Like learning that the Native Americans were peaceful. They were nice. They tried to help the white man and get along with the white man. The white men, all they wanted to do were butcher the Native Americans, or it's kind of like how there is gender studies and women's studies taught at college. And, I think at UMass, it's UMass or the University of Massachusetts where gender studies is a required course. But math is not. You're not required to learn math, but
gender studies.
Oh my God. Yes, UMass, and I could look for it and give it to you. But yes, you are required to learn.
Well, that would be useful, actually, basket weaving. At least you're making something.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with basket weaving.
It's useful. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that there needs to be a reform in our education, or you learn about like white people owning slaves. Like what you don't learn is that white people were slaves to the Arabs. Like, what about white people being slaves to the Arabs? That is not heard of. So I would imagine that white people do feel a bit of white guilt. Not all white people, but the education system is full of, white people did bad things, but black people and Native Americans were innocent, kind, wonderful, loving victims who didn't do anything wrong.
That's the thing, though. Part of the history we get told now is that white people are the bane of all evil. Everything we touch, we destroyed, because everyone was doing so much greater before white people came.
Yeah, it's sort of reverse Orientalism, right? It's instead of saying, "Oh, your Oriental people are so nice," whatever. It's like, "Oh, we are so bad." You know, it's kind of reversed Orientalism almost, because it doesn't know substance. Just like Orientalism doesn't, like, you just assume something.
Well,
I think the education system can only be changed if there's pushback, you know, and that pushback has to come, I think, not from the educators or even from the lawgivers. It really has to come from the normal men on the street. It just come from the majority. Everybody has to say that's bullshit, you know.
Yeah,
you're right. That's where it is happening to come. But we've created a society with the education system that if normal men on the street try to push back, they're villainified, like, or whatever the fuck that word is.
Yeah, vilified, yeah.
To the point of, you know what? Oh, you don't agree with what we're teaching kids? Well, you're now banned from all public education school grounds. You're not allowed to come to our open discussions, town hall meetings. And I could probably, within 5 minutes, I could probably have you 5 different scenarios here in North America where that's happened.
Yeah, but you know, there has been a backlash to all of this. And I'm not just talking about like the conservatives are suffering, even these liberal left-wing people are suffering. Like Sarkin had this on his channel not that long ago, where the kids were chanting against the teachers, like what were they chanting? Like get these racist teachers out of our campus or some shit for anti-white day. Like if I say anti-white day, you probably remember this on Sargon's channel, because I know that Computing Forever also mentioned this on his channel.
You mean Weinstein in, what was the name of the school? The Weinstein, the professor, the reverse day of absence, right?
Yeah, it's the day of absence or anti-white day, where all the white teachers were expected to leave, and the kids were chanting against the white teachers. They were getting really up close and personal. Like you see, like this white, elderly, blonde teacher with a bunch of students on her, like being intimidating her, and it's being a backlash where they want teacher after teacher after teacher fired from their jobs, like demanding resignations. So this has been really backfiring on them. And you know, like I have wanted to talk about this on my channel. I just haven't like gotten all the research that I wanted to be done. But Ben Shapiro has a book called Bullies, where he talks about the connection between the Democratic Party, the mainstream liberal media, and college campuses, where there's a bit of a collusion among all 3 of them. You know? And he did cite his sources, by the way. He didn't just say it. He said it with citations that there is a bit of a collusion between the Democratic Party, the college campuses, and the mainstream media.
Well,
I just see that NC Clark's on as well.
Yeah.
She's on the chat.
Yeah. I did ask her why she hasn't been on the stream for a very long time. Then again, I don't have her contact info, and she's not on the Skype group.
I linked her.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't. You didn't link her though, did you? You said you would invite her.
I'll tell her to hop in as well on the chat. She probably prepares to do some shit posting from the chat. She shakes in fear and says she's not here.
Yeah,
we can see you.
You're pretty loud, Carlos.
Yeah.
What can you see?
Fine. Loud.
Better, yeah.
I'm loud.
Yeah, your mic.
You're super loud. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm on my laptop. I don't have nothing. It's standard.
Okay. Well, sometimes we can actually hear you typing.
I honestly don't know why. It's on my laptop. It has Windows 10. Nothing else. I just use this for streaming basically, and when watching movies.
Okay.
And surfing porn.
I don't know. But anyway, am I too loud now?
No, you're okay now.
Fine.
Oh, weird. What I was going to say about a country, it doesn't matter what education systems you can put through it. If it's Marxist, schools are full of Marxists. That a country can balance that out if it just enforces the laws it has in its books.
Yeah.
If people are rioting, round them all up, prosecute them, put them in jail. Doesn't matter what political flavor they have. That's simple. But we see in the West, we are not enforcing laws that should be enforced. One of them is sedition. Has that been revoked from most laws, law books of many countries of the West, where you actively work to undermine the country's operation? Sedition.
Sedition, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, officially it still exists in most Western countries, but it's not being used. But that's the problem with a lot of the Western world. I mean, we have laws on the book, we just don't use them.
We are prosecuting blasphemy and not prosecuting sedition in many, not in Portugal, by the way. We just don't give a shit. Our scandals are football, and a few other shit things about Ronaldo supposedly not paying his taxes, but being persecuted by the Spaniards and all that. That's our news.
Yeah.
God damn it, I love my country sometimes, even though I hate it so much as well. There's so much shit about it. But sedition should be more enforced than bloody blasphemy.
It's even funnier that most countries in the Western world were breaking down blasphemy laws and now bringing them back to protect Islam. It's incredible.
That is the ironic part of it, yes.
Yeah, that's
Hello,
nice.
NC.
Yeah, welcome, NC. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, as if we didn't have enough Spanish people on the chat already.
How many Spanish people do you have?
I'm American.
I'm not Spanish. How dare you, sir?
You almost made me spit there, Raven.
You Spanish.
You're a fucking leaf, Futter. You're a fucking leaf.
Hey, now that I know what that is, I'm a fucking leaf.
A fucking leaf. Oh my God, you're actually proud of that? I didn't expect it.
You want to really upset the Canadian? Hey, dude, how's Bill C-16 doing for you?
Your beer.
That's not
It's
the
not
worst
beer.
bill, though. C-16 is not the worst bill that they've introduced lately.
It's like a drink I have designed. RR, Realraven.
What bill are you thinking of there?
They've contradicted their own laws. They've revoked the blasphemy laws now. You can be prosecuted for C-16, but you can't. But you can say no. You are trying to prosecute me under a blasphemy law which you just revoked.
You know, actually, I will tell you my assumption on why they revoked the blasphemy law. That it is completely connected to the Islamophobia motion.
Yep, it is.
Yes.
Because
but
the motion is fucking useless. The motion is useless without a law, and they can't make the law state what they want as long as that blasphemy law is on.
Because the blasphemy law would basically say, well, Islam says this, therefore Islam is producing blasphemy. So they have to remove that bit so that they can use the bit that they want to use to protect Muslims. I'm really looking forward, but then again, Canada's law system is pretty fucked up anyway, because we're not talking about normal law, we're talking about, what's it called? I wanted to say people's court. It's called differently.
Case law, I think.
No. You go to
Human Rights
Yes,
Commissions.
Human Rights Council.
Yeah.
Human Rights
It's
Council.
terrible.
Which has absolutely nothing to do with the law.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. So I don't.
But people can still go to jail because of it.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing about C51 is I think that they lump a lot of shit together and they say, oh yeah, we're getting rid of old laws, but then at the same time they put in these special things about in sexual assault cases you cannot what was it, cross-examine your accuser. Somebody's eating crisps again. You cannot
me.
you cannot look
Carlos.
into
Wasn't me.
No, it was not.
yeah. So it seems to create a new standard that kind of tries to turn the burden of proof around again. And that's actually what they sneaked in with that bill. I don't understand how they can make a bill like that and lump so many different things into one thing and just say, okay, let's pass it.
A good
Sorry,
lawyer.
I missed. What
Yeah,
did they
a good
sneak in?
lawyer. A good lawyer of a client that has been charged under some sort of Islamophobia law will just say, nope, you just revoked the law of blasphemy. My client blasphemed against Islam. You can't prosecute him.
Yeah, but that's okay because again, the human
Yeah,
rights
there are. Yeah.
they're not a law council, so they don't actually have to follow the law.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
and
they can't prosecute. They have to follow the law if they want to prosecute, though.
No,
They can't escape it. Yes, they can.
No.
you can get prosecuted under the human rights.
Yes, but they still have to follow the certain laws because
Carlos, you're missing the point.
Am I?
The human
Probably
rights-
am. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The Human
Yeah,
Rights
you are.
Council isn't court, but they can
True.
prosecute you and they can convict you as if they were.
Okay, but you can appeal though.
Very hardly. Well, very difficult.
You can take them to court saying no, I will not pay.
that's-
What are you going to do?
No one has been successful at that yet.
Well, exactly because I don't. Yeah, but I would try it.
Well,
Because the
you're
Human Rights
probably the
Council-
first to try it. A lot of people have tried it.
And they've never taken it to a civil court.
It's
Well-
not easy. Look what happened with Elliot with the Twitter trial.
Yeah.
3 years.
I know. Yeah, but he won ultimately though.
No.
Yeah,
didn't.
did he actually win though?
No,
he spent
didn't
more
win. He didn't
time.
win.
He spent more time fighting that than if he would have just
True.
pled guilty. And
But
And all that
he
time,
set a
wasn't allowed to do
precedent.
his job. He wasn't allowed to use the internet. He wasn't allowed to use computers. For what, 2.5, 3 years?
yeah,
But
3 years
ultimately
of no
he-
income.
Yeah. Okay, but then what happened? Did he continue? No.
But
He
there's nothing to
ultimately
continue.
won.
No, he didn't win. He didn't get convicted. That doesn't mean he won. That means he didn't lose. But there's nothing for him to win.
Yeah,
There's no
because
way
in Canada, it's been proven that they were false allegations, and under Canadian law, he can't even take the claimants to civil court to recoup his financial loss. He
Can I
literally
just say
did
you-
lose.
Can I just say you guys have fucking stupid laws?
They do.
Yeah,
Honestly.
They do. Yeah, they really do.
and that's
but-
something that's making me a little bit more nervous. Like I was trying to state earlier, is the way our laws are getting rewritten. Like is brought up the whole C51 and the blasphemy portions of it are getting taken out. Is to go back to the C51 that before, which was in another year, and that was the anti-terrorism. Is when they're writing new laws in Canada now, what they're doing is they are essentially writing them so egg terminology that there's no real way to fight them. It's
Yeah.
almost like the courts and the law are now saying, oh, you're guilty. Why am I guilty? Because we said so. Well, you can't. Well, no, under this law, it says under a reasonable presumption.
Yep. And
One thing-
general thumping.
Oh
I think that
man.
one thing that I want to try is that you cannot bring evidence if you're accused of a sexual demeanor and the victim says if you have text messages that she sent to you before the incident that say whatever, that was nice or whatever, then you have to run it by the accuser, and they can say no, you're not permitted to use this for evidence. So you're not permitted to use it in the court because it's something that it basically makes me look bad, and since I'm a survivor, a victim, you're making it worse for me. And that's one of the parts that's in C51 as well, that you basically make not permissible. You make it impossible for an accused to
Cross-examine.
not just cross-examine, but to just bring evidence, so to defend himself, to defend himself with say like, oh, but I got like 51 phone calls from this person before the night or whatever, no, you can't say that because it's not permitted because the accuser doesn't want it.
The other thing that's
crazy.
the other thing that's confusing is when we talk about like Bill C-51. Is a couple of years ago, well, actually quite a few years ago now, we had a Bill C-51, which was our anti-terrorism bill, which came under a lot of scrutiny and everything else. It's, again, no evidence, just an assumption that they purposely put out this bill to be another C-51. So essentially, when there is any hype about it, people think, oh, well, that was years ago. What I'm talking about something that's already come and gone and passed by naming the bills with the same name.
Recycling.
What would happen in a situation like this? What type of laws could they introduce where a partner kills his partner and kills himself because of, say, bad gendering or gender bias towards one side? How would the country react? There's an epidemic of murder suicides. A partner kills his the partner, and then kills herself.
Well, I don't think there'd be any legal charges because everybody involved is dead.
Yeah, but what could social justice educate or try to pass laws to do that? That's what's been happening here in Portugal. We don't have any extreme laws. That we have the normal, everyday, slightly gynocentric laws that every Western country has, and there's been a spate of mostly men killing their spouses, but also a few cases of wives killing their husbands and so on, and then killing themselves. So I would expect in not that too distant, if they insist in passing those types of laws, an epidemic of murder-suicides. Because people say,
you're wrong. You're wrong. It had to do with memes
maybe
and Twitter.
Maybe
yes, coming their way.
Yes, I am totally wrong. Absolutely,
yes.
I would. This is just a hypothetical situation.
Yes.
But it can happen.
Yeah,
because in Spain, they had the most repressive laws, anti-husband laws that you could think of, and up until now, not the situation which I described did not happen. But in Portugal, we have quite a liberal type of laws, and there's been a significant murder-suicide between partners. It could be cultural, though. I don't know. I don't know the causes. I'm just saying that it's been happening here compared to other countries and so on. And I quoted in everyone. I apologize, people.
No, why?
Just a situation which is happening here in Portugal. There is a problem where murder suicide, and we don't know. The Portuguese people and the government just don't know what to do. They just bury the dead, basically.
Yeah. Well, homicide and suicide always are a big problem, and you see in periods of economic and social upheaval, you see a rise in both.
Which Portugal is passing through. We have about 2 million people living below the poverty line.
Well, I'm saying the whole Western world is going through it in one way or another at the moment.
Oh yes, it is. Yes, absolutely. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
And,
But now, Portugal has a different problem than other Western countries, obviously.
we have, and most of our economic problems, the Portuguese people immigrate. They leave Portugal.
Yeah.
We are the legal refugees of Europe. Greece was Italy the same, and in certain parts of Spain were also.
Mm-hmm.
But we've oh man, it's just
yeah.
I'm not too sure.
No, it's kind of difficult, and I really think that we in the West need to address our culture, because it is our culture that is creating our downfall at the moment, or people within our culture that are creating our downfall. And if we don't address it, well,
like people are capitulating to Islam. It seems that way. Because you're at risk of being Islamophobic and getting fired and shit.
We're not just capitulating against Islam, though. We're capitulating against subversive thoughts within our own ranks as well. I mean, if we look at how much Antifa and social justice warriors get away with at this point in time, I can't blame Islam for that.
no, they just filling in the spaces, basically.
Yeah.
But you just need to be poor, basically. To many of the Western problems they're having is because there's too much. People are getting too much money. Shit. I've said this, I think, in the pre stream chat. Syrian refugees are actually preferring to go hungry than coming to Portugal.
Well, it seems like the migrants don't like Poland either. Like,
well, Poland doesn't let them in. That's a different story. We have 10,000 houses ready for 10,000 families.
Poland is quite simple. Poland does accept refugees, just not Muslim refugees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we accept them, but they don't want to come here because we don't put them all together. We put them in isolated villages, and they don't want that. And then we only pay them 600 euros a month, and they don't want that either because it's 600 euros total, not per person. So the soon as they get here, if they can stomach getting here, and they get their free pass to go all over Europe, they catch the first bus. There's no border checks. In 24 hours, they're in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Portugal does sound interesting. I really love it when you talk about Portugal. You do have interesting, stories to tell.
We are the third most peaceful country on earth.
Who's the first?
I wouldn't have a clue. Possibly.
But you know you're the third.
I only care about Portugal. When I see statistics, if Portugal appears in the top 10 of something positive, I don't care who's on top above them.
Hey,
I only care who's below them.
I have a suggestion. Why don't we make a let's have a white stripe on the LGBT flag and have that for Portuguese people.
It has to be white and blue though, because that's how old,
Okay, white and blue then.
colors. Yeah, old colors.
It's always about you. It's always about Portugal and how bad it is in Portugal. Weren't we talking about American Republicans? No.
Getting shot. We don't have that, but we did have. I think there is a conspiracy theory that one of our past prime ministers, he was quite good. He was a social democrat. They think his plane crashed, and he was sort of a little bit anti-American. It was in a really complicated history of Portugal, and there's a conspiracy theory that someone killed him. Right. But Salazar did kill one of our heroes, the general's fearless general, Humberto Morgado, I think his name is. Oh God, I can't remember his name.
I was just about to ask NC something, but since you were talking all the time, now she's dropped due to a brain freeze. I wanted to know whether Republicans are actually inherently bad people. She's back to folding laundry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, I have to go, guys.
You have to have your priorities right. Portugal is obviously more important than America. I fully agree. By the way, they have better wine as well.
Portugal is one of the worst countries in the world. But please visit us.
Well,
I will.
In all fairness, looking at the clock, I think I'm going to pull an end to it anyway. We've been busy for 2 hours now. So yeah. We started with politicians being murdered, and basically I hoped to have drawn the link between the victim ideology and victimization and the victim Olympics that's creating this. Because I'm poor, I'm blah, 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 and they're all bad. And somehow we created a world where it's okay to hit Nazis. And then, if it's okay to hit Nazis, then why isn't it okay to kill Nazis? Yeah, but they're not Nazis. Who cares about that they're not Nazis? We think they're Nazis, therefore we're right.
Absolutely, yes.
It doesn't make sense, but this is the ideology that's driving our youth. Anyway.
Yeah. No question. You summarized it perfectly, yes.
Any idea what next week's going to be?
I have no idea yet.
Next week. We're still waiting for either some people, some politicians being shot, or some new houses being burnt down. There's always something, right? Good news for people who love bad news.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There has been a huge flat burning up in England. I feel sorry for the victims of that. But as it is, it seems like that was more of an accident and a disaster than terrorism or pre-thought up. So
I still think it was an accident. It is an accident. Shit.
The burning.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason why it's getting so much attention is because a lot of people from ISIS are tweeting that it's a good thing and more people should die, even though it's in a poor part of, I think it was London, and a lot of people who live there are poor people, and amongst them were lots of poor Muslims. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't see. Never mind. Fuck it. I can't talk.
Do talk.
We need to stop assuming every fucking bad thing around is terrorism. Sometimes shitty shit happens.
True that. We had an accident during the week, I think during the weekend in the Netherlands. A guy got stopped by the police close to, I don't know, a square in Amsterdam. And when he was allowed to drive off, he drove off and rammed a bunch of people sitting outside of a pub or something.
Oh, he was either drunk or drugged, wasn't he?
Yeah. And the first thing everyone assumed was terrorism. And the police immediately sent out, this wasn't terrorism. It's shit,
and what about,
it wasn't terrorism.
What about the initial one, the 5 Republicans getting shot? Is that classified as terrorism, or is it just lunacy?
It's lunacy, but I still say it classifies as terrorism.
But why? Because I don't know. I mean, it's just somebody with a beef, like like a mass shooting at a workplace being.
There is an ideology behind this.
Yeah, I would still say it's terrorism because he's politically motivated. He shot them because they were all Republicans. It's politically motivated, so it's terrorism.
Yeah.
But did he plan it? Like,
yes.
Was it just like was it just like a spur of the moment thing?
Well, from what I heard, he went and asked whether they're for the Democrats or they're practicing for Republicans. They said Republicans, and
apparently
his car got his gun and started shooting people.
So yes, it is terrorism because it's politically motivated. And he did ask the Democrats and Republicans. It is thought out something.
I have to go, people. I honestly have to go. See you, people.
Okay, see
I love you guys.
See you later, Carlos. Nice talking to you.
Well, Carlos. See you next week.
Yeah, most likely. I have my stream on Monday. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but it should be interesting.
We'll see you on Monday.
First, I would like to talk to you more about Portugal. Like, I'll let you talk to you about Portugal with you.
Yeah, but the thing is, there isn't really much to talk about archaeological about Portugal. I mean, they're not that old.
Oh yes, we have. We can. I'm sorry. We were the first to discover a hybrid Homo sapiens Neanderthal child skeleton remains. So yes, we started that shit. It's my evil laugh, you know, the evil scientist. João Zilhão, he works in Barcelona, the University of Barcelona Archaeological Department. So yeah, and Eric Trinkhaus, Dr. Eric Trinkhaus. So good night, people. I really love you, all of you, and
catch you later, Carlos.
Bye.
See you later, mate.
No homo.
Yes, you, Carlos.
Father, Realraven, and Rin, do you want to shill something?
Yeah, please check out my channel. I am Rin Michaelis, and I do post videos on a regular basis, and I'll be happy if you all would check out my channel and subscribe to me.
Well, in that case, I guess I'll shill. My name's Fuddernuttah. Check me out on YouTube. I do streams every now and then, and like having subscribers.
Cool, Fuddernuttah. I have to remember that one. Probably get my soup. Oh yeah, I'm Realraven. I make music, and I'm just working on another track. So that's with Lana Lacious again, and it's going to be very good and not suitable for work. So come to my channel as well. Subscribe. You're not going to be overwhelmed, and we always make high quality music.
But Lana has a beautiful voice. Really good singer. Which was the one that you did not so long ago?
I was trying to get her on the stream, but she's only just woke up, so it's too early for her.
Okay, but you did a song with her not too long ago, didn't you?
Oh yes, we did. We did a couple. I have to even remember. Well, the last one was the Moldy Locks one.
Yeah,
Hit Me. Oh no, we did one about the general election. Sure, that was super tough about the choice. You know, between that's quite a funny one actually. It's an oldie. It's quite beautiful, very slow. Carpenter's Number. Check it out.
Yeah, I am. Anyway, I'm going to shill something too. Check out Axel's Realraven's channel. I don't know why I keep saying Axel though. That's my bad. I have no idea why I keep doing it.
Because I deserve it. Because I'm awesome.
Maybe. Anyway, check out Realraven's channel. He does do beautiful music. It really is worth it.
Needs more subscribers.
Yeah, well, we all need more subscribers. don't bother subscribing to this channel. Subscribe to other channels. Well, feel free to subscribe to this one. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for the people in the chat. Thank you for contributing. Next week we're going to do I have no clue. We're talking about something. And I think this is it. Say bye.
Catch you later.
Bye bye.